Hey guys, Big Al here. Today we're going to be making some arrows. I bought some Black Eagle carnivore shafts. They are 350 spine, 28 inches. They came with nocks and they came with these inserts, but that will be all changing. I like to make very accurate and very consistent hunting arrows so that I can take aim very cleanly without with maximum penetration and maximum damage without wounding anything. So the first step is actually structural integrity for this, but I have all my things picked out for that. But my first step for this video is the perfect arrow flight. How we're going to do that is we're going to build our own arrows here so that we can make sure that they're all flying perfectly straight, and so that when we put a broadhead on it and some fletching, it will do the job. So first of all, we have to install the inserts. The shafts come with 15 grain inserts, aluminum inserts like these. We will be using these at first, but we will be replacing them with heavier inserts depending on what we need. So first of all, you got your shaft. You want to square up the end with sandpaper or something. If you watch Ranch Fairy's videos, he has a lot of good methods on that. Next step is to install the insert. Once everything's squared up, you can install the insert. These are just aluminum inserts. They got glue grooves. What you're going to do is get some little bit of super glue, a little bit on the bottom of the insert. Make sure it's kind of evenly spread out on the bottom of the insert. And then you're going to put it into the end of the shaft. All the way down. Push it nice and flat. There is some excess. Wipe it off. You're going to let this one dry. Do the next ones. I'm too worried about these inserts at them. Making them all perfect because my other inserts are what I'm using. Because I'm using 150 grain out of the broadhead, so I'm going to need more weight in the insert. So the insert one I'm using, I have the ethics 200 grain inserts on the stern. Just put down the stern. Make sure it is flush against it. And excess away. Next one. But yeah, so we're installing these inserts. Then we will be putting various point weights on it, and then bare shaft tuning. Bare shaft tuning is one of the most effective ways to ensure perfect arrow flight. And it's not that hard once you get a good setup, once you get used to it and put some time into it. It is time consuming, but if you're into it, then it's worth it. Another thing you're going to want to do before installing the inserts is to clean the inside and outside of the shaft, just to make sure there's no residue there sticking there to prevent the glue from doing its work. So we'll let these dry, and our next step is bare. Another very important aspect of arrow tuning is the nock tune of the arrow, where the nock is rotated onto the shaft. Changing where the nock is on the shaft, especially on a bare shaft arrow, will actually change how the arrow flies. So that will be something we'll definitely be working with and seeing how that works. So to make sure you know where you're nock tuning from, you're going to start with an original nock tune. So I'm going to mark the shaft right where the nock is on one side with a Sharpie marker like that. Yeah, you can see that a little bit, that line right there. And so probably I'll need to nock tune all of these, or at least I will, just to make sure they're all going perfect. You will always be shooting with that nock tune first off in the same place, so do not flip these over. These will be face up when we're shooting them, and then when we rotate them, we'll rotate them from the original point clockwise, just because that's easy enough to remember. Quarter turn at a time, and if it's not good enough, then we'll do eighth of a turn. So just to make sure we're being accurate here. And then once we determine the nock tunes on all of these, we will put a more permanent mark on there. And but that will be all after we test the point weights, which is why I have this kit. Point weights from 200 to 300 grains with little, I think 15 grain spacers or 10 grain spacers, just to get a little more precise if you're really into that. My last arrows with a around 18 grain aluminum insert could handle, I think the 220 grain, from what I can remember, the 220 grain, or 225 grain, whatever, that point. And these ones are, those were 400 spines, these ones are 350, so they should be able to handle a little bit more, so I'm going to test from there, and we'll see what results we get. So, without further ado, for all this arrow tuning, I'm using my Gearhead T24. It is a great little hunting rig. It has a 5-pin sight, and it's very light. It's only 24 inches axle to axle, and it's already been tuned, so the if the arrows fly good, then it shouldn't be too hard. I shouldn't have to do much to the bow. So yeah, just tuning the arrows. When bare shaft tuning, you must have a target of decent size, and it must be elevated because your paper tuning instrument here has to be elevated so that you are not shooting down, because that will make it a knock high tear. Make sure it's straight, and then your paper tuning instrument here, mine is very simple, but it works. I have a cardboard box that I have cut out, and I have put a piece of paper that comes in a roll. I pull it up, I pin it, and then I trace an outline where the cardboard is so I don't shoot the cardboard. Now, when you're done using this area, you just pull these, roll up here, cut the top off, and change to your next arrow. So this is what I use for bare shaft tuning. The distances that I shoot from varies a little bit, but I like to shoot from at least about 5 yards to get a good idea of what we're actually dealing with. So that's what I use. Target. After we did a round of point weight testing, we have our 225, our 250, 275, 300, and 315. So, to be honest here, I started with the 250 because I knew that my other one could almost stabilize it. So, I knew that it would at least start from there. So, we have a decent tear. It's a little bit ragged. Go to the 275, I mean, that's a bullet hole. 300, almost bullet hole. 315, bullet hole. So, these are what we're looking at right now. I went to 225 to test to see if it could even stabilize below 215. It cannot. So that shows you what we're looking at. So for the other arrows, I didn't even knock tune this arrow. It flew like this. So we'll do the other ones. We might have to knock tune those to get the same performance, but you have a good idea of what we're looking at here. So I've been doing some more tuning, and I started on arrow 2. I started with 300 because 300 performed pretty well in this. That seems to be about the area we're looking for. First shot, pretty bad tear. Second shot, I knock tuned it because I was pretty confident in the shot, and another bad tear. I knock tuned again, worse tear. Then the knock tunes keep getting more inconsistent as I go. Changed to 275, worst tear. Then I did not like what I was looking at, so I changed to arrow 3, and this is why I think you must use 3 arrows, not 2. There's a lot of people saying use 2 arrows, and I just don't think that's the right thing to do, because I use arrow 3, take 2 shots with 300, and they're both bullet holes. If I had only these 2, it would really be hard for me to tell. If I ordered a bunch more of those arrows, that I would be able to get any of them to do that. So, ordering 3 arrows, first off, lets you know if one is kind of wonky, that those arrows still work. But if only one performs good, then you might have to do more research there. So I came back to this one. I put in the 300th again, and instead of turning it a quarter turn at a time, I started turning it an eighth of a turn at a time. And it's interesting how I can get them to do high tears and side tears. I changed to the 275. I don't know why I put 272, but that's 275. And another bad tear. So, as you can see, the tuning works great on this one. I didn't even have to Noctune. On that one, I didn't Noctune. On this one, I tried Noctune, and there was nothing to be had there. So I will probably square up that knock end. I did not square up the knock ends at first. They were cut from the factory. I did not take the knocks out and square them up. I should probably have done that. If that makes a difference, I'll let you know. But so right now, what I have though is info for my build. 315, I didn't even test on that, but 315 works as well. But 300 works good, so that's plus that insert weight, that's 315 grains of point weight, or 330 grains of point weight if you're looking at the 315. And so I'm using 150 grain monolithic broadhead, so I will be adjusting the insert weight accordingly. That is our next step on this tuning. Okay, so we're back here, and we got our numbers with the 300 grain tip. It's basically 315 grains up front, and the 315 plus the insert, which is 330, actually worked pretty well. So I made it easy for the insert cutting, and I estimated it's about 325 grains. And then for 150 grain broadhead, I'm testing out these bare raiders. They might be best that overall has offer, but they're too good, sharp and very sharp, and I found an answer to them. And very solid, from what I've read from the Ashby Bow Hunting Foundation, which you ought to check out, and from watching Ranch Fairy and all that, it seems that 2-blade is the way to go for penetration. 2-blade is the way to go. And if you're not familiar with what my goal really is, I'm trying to be able to shoot the deer from most angles and be able to hit the vitals no matter what's in the way, and be able to get the arrow through on the other side. And there's a lot of broadhead setups that do not let that happen, but it's not just the broadhead setup, it's the arrow itself. The arrow is very and very light on front. It's 104 centimeters. So these are very light arrows, but they're stiff enough to be able to handle this 315 grains or so. So it is a high percentage forward of center, and that will definitely help with penetration. And then if the arrow's flying perfectly straight, it isn't going at an angle like that, and therefore it's penetrating right perfectly straight, and there'll be a lot less issues with deflection and such. So these broadheads are not the best, but they're definitely a step up from what I've been using and what a lot of people use. So anyways, that's 150 grain broadhead thereabouts, and so if we're doing 325 grain weight, which is less than 2 of these, arrows one things a lot because some of the cost and more to the bag up the emission to silence it. So the 325 grain. Anyway, inserts are these. So they're a lot bigger than the other inserts that I put in. They're made of steel. They're 200 grains, and they got little notches in those. Those are not glue grooves. Those are notches for cutting off weight. So if you cut it on this last end, it will be 175 grains. I'm not use something you can find rest. I'll knock that off, and it'll be 175 grains. That's what we'll be looking at. So yeah, I only did get 3 arrows because I was testing them. If none of them worked at the weight I wanted, I was not going to use them. Now that I see that they do, I'm going to order more. I'm going to cut all of these. I ordered 12 or so, yeah. And then I'm going to order a bunch more arrows, and we're going to build them. I'm going to bare shaft and Noctune all of them with these inserts and 150 grain points because I've decided on that now. I know that they can do that. So, thanks for watching. If you are interested in arrow building, archery, or other things like that, please let me know in the comments. I enjoy doing this as a hobby, and it's something I'd like to share with people so they can know this is a particular subject that not everybody in the archery world is doing, and it takes a lot of work, so I understand that, but it's a concept that people should be familiar with so that they know what's happening when they go out and try to shoot or try to hunt. So thanks for watching. I'd ask you to like, share, and subscribe. And if you like content like this, please let me know so I can video some more. Thanks. Have a good day.